What kind of person would put themselves in a metal cage, be lowered into the sea, just so they could say they'd come face to face with a great white shark and survived? Well, Charlie Boorman is that kind of guy, and he's here with us today at the Adventure Film Festival to tell us about the excitement and the dangers of making his new film, Charlie Boorman's South African Adventure. So I've got the results from your thrill test.
Yeah, I lied.
Did you really?
For the whole lot of them. Yeah, of course. I put all the best answers in.
But one of the scores I got back from it, though, is quite revealing, I think. In your sociability scale, you score 9 out of 10. So actually the average, the UK average, is about 6.3. So you're very high, very sociable, actually, which is in stark contrast to lots of the other adventurers that we're talking to.
Yeah. Oh, who are kind of like to get... See, I suppose I never... and actually that part of it I did sort of think about because, you know, for me, going out on adventures or trips or whatever has always been about sharing and about sharing that moment with Ewan or with, you know, whoever you're with, or that person who's showing you how to climb it. Like last year I went to Canada and I remember a guy called Barry Blanchard who took me up this incredible mountain, Mount McKinley, and you know, proper pitons and, you know, climbing cliffs and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I lost my bottle doing it, but but I was glad that there was someone there that I could share it with. You know, and those moments. So well,
it's kind of interesting because the other score that you've got is both sociability and impulsive sensation seeking. You score very similar to Russ Malkin. Actually, your scores are very similar. And I just wondered whether you thought that was really important when you're going on an adventure with somebody, that you feel like you're at the same levels, you kind of enjoy the same things. You know,
Russ must have been lying as well, because when we went up the Sunny Pass, he was the first person out the door. But no, I think you know, someone told me once that if you're doing something, you know, in the past I've done lots of silly things, and you know, the Dakar Rally and, you know, all sorts of different things where you know, everything's fine, and all these things, jumping off a mountain or doing paramotoring or doing, you know, whatever it is you want to do, you know, that's all fine, and you know, the only time it's dangerous is if it goes wrong. And you know, other than that, it's perfectly safe. So to do anything.
So is it? But to have somebody who's the same as you, for example, if Russ was like to do things which you thought were a little bit too dangerous, you kind of like going, well, where's the fun in that? He's off doing paragliding, you're sat at home doing your knitting. I mean, that has to be sort of...
I didn't see him paragliding. But, no. He thought. I mean, I think in order to get these TV things off the ground and you know, to get out there and to do them, you know, you need a sense of adventure, you know, in the first place, because you're going to be passionate enough to convince God knows how many people to get you to be able to go and do what you want to do. And I suppose you know, the people you go with need to and would be better if they wanted to do these stupid things, because, you know, of course, you know, the cameraman Russ, the second camera guy, they're all in that vehicle with you, or they're climbing up that mountain with you. You know, you're not alone, you know. And I think gone are the days that people, you know, don't know about that. People are very savvy nowadays, and I think that people, you know, understand that there is someone else doing it with you. And often, you know, the cameraman is I mean, there's a cameraman here, a guy called Mungo, you know, Mungo the cameraman, and he, you know, he has to do whatever you do holding a camera.
I classify your adventures as big parties. That's what I said. You look like, it's kind of infectious. You've got everybody, the crew, everybody seems to be having a good time, and you know, that comes across very clearly. You know.
And I think you should have a good time doing it, and you know, the people that you're traveling with are part of what you do. You know, and it is hard, you know. I mean, it's great fun and it's brilliant, and when you're sitting up there, like on, for instance, when we're in South Africa, on this latest one with the when we're going up the Sunny Pass, you know, they you know, normally you could hop up that on a motorbike, really no bother at all. But this time we went there and the whole place was frozen, and there was snow. I mean, you don't expect snow in South Africa. You expect to see lions and tigers and bears. You know, well, maybe not the tigers and bears, but that's rhinos and sunbeds. You know, but not -7 and you know, all that kind of stuff. And so when we went up the Solid Pass, we convinced this guy to take us up in this, which is a very dangerous pass. So it goes up it goes up very, very high, right up to Lesotho, which is this kingdom in the mountains, and it's beautiful, a beautiful place. But and this is very dodgy pass that goes up, and it was frozen. We convinced this guy in a Jeep to take us up. He didn't really want to go. I felt really guilty, sort of. And anyway, we went firing up, and everything went wrong. And bizarrely, you know, I found it quite exciting.
Yeah.
And that's really when, you know, it's like when everybody travels on a holiday or something like that. Everything goes. When, you know, you can be sitting on the beach or having a nice time, everything's controlled, everything's relaxed, and then something goes wrong, and you think, and you get through it, and you go home, and that's what you tell people about, not about lying on the beach and you know, but that bit that went wrong.
I mean, that's absolutely a trait of somebody who's got a very high impulsive sensation seeking score. They crave unpredictability and novelty. And you're saying. They're the bits that excite you when you start going off into the unknown.
Well, when it goes wrong, you know, it's exciting, and you know, at the time we're thinking, oh Christ, this is terrible, you know, but you know, and you somehow get through it. Like when I was in Papua New Guinea once, and these guys stopped and had these big sort of 1.5 meter long machetes and demanding money off us, and I ended up having this massive argument with this guy, and went through afterwards, and you think, oh God, maybe I shouldn't have done that, and but you got away with it, and you know, and those are the bits and there's the bits when you laugh, you know, you get through these bits and you look at each other and you think, bloody hell, and then you start to laugh.
Yeah. So you actually scored 10 out of 10 on the impulsive sensation seeking score. So actually that is the max, okay. But
I'm sure lots of people get 10 out of 10 on
well,
that one.
no, I think the average is possibly around 7, I believe. So actually, you're quite high up. I mean, for an adventurer, you'd imagine 9, but 10.
Adventurer. It always makes me laugh. I'm just thinking. I think people who walk to the North Pole and South Pole and climb Everest are adventurers. You know, I just ride a motorbike around the world.
But yeah, so you don't actually feel that you're made of the same stuff as.
I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes you know, there are moments. I remember a long way around when we were in the middle of Mongolia and everything was going wrong, and one of the Russ had crashed his car, and we were absolutely in the middle of nowhere. There was no roads, there was no towns. It was 3 days to get to the nearest hospital. He was only 50 miles away, but it represented a whole day's riding to get to help. So you were no help at all. And then I thought, God, if I come off the bike here, and Ewan or I break a femoral artery or break a leg and have a big bleed, that's it.
Yeah.
And so there are moments, I think, where you think I really am on an adventure here.
Yeah.
You know, but not all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
There's that veneer of entertainment where it is kind of fun, as you're saying, which is key for you. But occasionally you go, we're very close to the wire on this.
Yeah. And you can usually see it in. You know, when the bit of a dodgy moment comes along, you can usually see in your eyes. You just think, you know. But you know, stupidly, you just carry on.
Yeah. Can you remember the first time you were ever thrilled as a little boy?
Oh, gosh, yeah. I mean, I remember as a kid. I remember my father's a film director, and he directed films like Deliverance and Excalibur and Hope and Glory and. All sorts of different films, and I remember Dad used to always put his kids into his movie because we were cheap fodder, and he said to me, "Look, Charlie, why don't you I want you to sit on that sofa with that bloke, and I'll give you a tricycle," and I remember sitting on the sofa, and it was John Voight who was on the sofa with me, and I remember all I cared about was this tricycle. and he would just move the tricycle depending where he wanted me to have my eye line, he would just move the tricycle to the eye line, and I'd just stare at this tricycle. And that, I remember that being, and then finally getting this boring filming bit over and done with, so I could go and play on my tricycle.
So, what's the most uninhibited thing you've ever done?
I think it would be, the birth of my children, I think. And I remember being there, I delivered both of my children and cut the cord and caught them as they came firing out.
Wow.
And actually one slipped and bounced, but that was, I recovered it quite quickly. But I suppose that, the birth of my children and the sheer raw, just...
Did it surprise you?
Everything. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Surprised me. I mean, I remember going down outside of the hospital to make a phone call to my dad. It was my first child was on the longest night which is just coming up in December.
Yes.
And I walked out to make this phone call, and there were 2 security guards. So it was Chelsea Westminster Hospital on the Fulham Road, and I was just, and both of them turned around and said, "Oh, have you just had a baby?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "No." He said, "We can always tell. There's this aura about guys who come out who've just had a kid."
Isn't that fantastic?
It was incredible.
Is that a kind of aura that you recognise from seeing other people who are, let's say, you're adventuring with? Is there something sort of glowing about people who are suddenly, or do you think it's something unique to fatherhood?
No, I do. I think that when you go out and for instance, Barry Blanchard, when I climbed the mountain with him, his total ease and his total passion for what he did definitely shines out there, and it's very raw, and to see how comfortable he is out in his environment and how alien it was to me. And when I went to go out on the boat to go to collect diamonds from the seabed, these guys only get out there maybe 28, 30 days a year to make their money, and when they're out there, they are working down there at the bottom of the seabed, in harsh conditions, and you can see the passion that they have for it, and so to be part of that is incredible, incredible. Yeah.
Charlie, thank you. It's been fascinating talking to you, and thank you to the Adventure Film Festival. Hopefully it's given some of our thrill seekers some food for thought. And whilst you're in the mood, you can find out what kind of a thrill seeker you are. Just take the thrill test and you could win some fantastic prizes too.